So the number one question that we've been asked before we left, and certainly today, is from people who are like, we would love to do that, but we can't because of finances. And they want to know how finances work, how much it costs, how we make money, how other people make money, and all of that. So this whole thing is going to be about all that. All that. So I would start by saying that if you are interested in this lifestyle, nothing is going to happen regardless of what your barriers are, and they probably are finances, school, and then a whole list of other things. But whatever those are for you, you're not going to move forward until you make the mental shift, at least for us, the mental shift, and decide we're going to do this. And instead of treating those as obstacles you can't get around, treat them like just, I don't know, would you say like challenges or something that you've got to figure out. Because for us, that's totally what happened. As soon as we made that mental shift that we're going to do it, we were amazed at how easy it was to get over those obstacles that we thought were insurmountable.
Once we were determined enough to do it.
Now, it's for sure easier for us than it could be some people because we were already homeschooling. And I kind of already had a way of making money on the road. It still wasn't easy, and we'll get to that. But I think for anybody, there's ways of doing it. So that's where I would start, is just saying, before you try to figure everything out, you got to decide whether you're going to do it or not. For the money side, do you want to start with like the cost savings and then talk about ways of making money?
Whatever you want.
Wow.
However it flows.
Well, I guess so. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, first I would say the mental shift for you guys, like, is it just like one day you were like, yes, we're going to do this?
No, it took probably about a month of really thinking about it, really, just praying about it for us too.
Yeah.
And then,
it was a dream that we had for, 5-6 years.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
And
of like this exact thing, like just traveling, doing this.
Taking our kids. At the time, our kids were in public school, and we were dreaming about it.
Yeah.
And so we were just saying, let's just do it through the summer.
What was the biggest hesitation at that point, or the biggest barrier for why you didn't just go off?
Money. Job.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's like
it for
99% of everybody out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then, just because we've been doing this transition so recently, I was taken back by it when we got rid of the house and we got rid of all the stuff. You watch HGTV and people are like, well, our stuff won't fit in this house. We need to get a bigger mortgage for our stuff.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness. We have so much stuff that we're paying just to keep stuff.
That we're tied down to it.
Yeah.
It was just, things kept adding up.
Yeah.
That the more stuff we had, the more money went out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And just all the little things that you don't realize that just drains your bank account.
Exactly.
So when we got rid of the home, the cars, the stuff, all the bills, the bank account just stopped.
Yep.
Yeah, it stopped depleting, except for food.
Yeah.
It's been the biggest.
But that was the thing for us, is we didn't even realize how many expenses were attached to the house. Like not just rent or mortgage.
We didn't even own.
Yeah.
We've always rented.
Because we never wanted to stay in one place for too long.
Because we moved around so much and we were afraid to have to sell a house. But I think, having a rental management company that still took care of some of the things that, like, not even having a mortgage, but
still
it was like, oh my goodness, because then I think renting, it was like, well, you have to do this and you have to do this.
Yeah.
And so
although is it not just like utilities, which are expensive, but then you also have extra things like internet and those sorts of things. And then you have, which we didn't even realize, is just like you were saying, just having a big space and having the ability to go and fill those spaces with more things. Even though we've never been like minimalist, but we never did like stuff.
We've never liked a lot of stuff.
We still didn't realize how much stuff we were buying just for the house until we got rid of that, and then we couldn't, and we're like, wow. Same thing as you. It's like we're saving so much money just from getting rid of the house, let alone all the other things that can be cut out.
Yeah. We have to spend money on the trailer and truck, but at the same time, that's a fraction.
Yeah.
Right.
Of what it takes to keep a house going.
So that I would say is the first thing, is that this way of living is so much more cost effective than a house. And I think people think the opposite because they think a vacation costs so much money.
yeah.
They think doing that full time has got to cost a fortune, but
Right.
it's totally the opposite. It's a very low cost way of living.
Yeah.
And so much more rich.
Well, and I think too, when people go on vacation, it's more extravagant because it's
Yeah.
more
Totally.
of like,
You have 2 weeks out of the year.
yes,
You better
we're
live it
gonna
up.
You
spend
better
as
live it
much
up.
as we
Yeah.
Exactly.
can.
We better
Yeah.
have as much fun as we can have.
Right.
You know, cram
Yeah.
it all in there. We better eat out all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
You know, so that I think that you realize how much you can save on money when you are in a smaller area. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have the same expenses going out.
Right.
Right.
So cost for us, I think our bare minimum we could get by on is like, what'd we say, 2,000?
Well, and we still, because we're paying on our car, so we still have
Yeah.
a car payment. The trailer, I mean, that was the one thing we didn't want to have a lot of debt, and we don't. Compared to I think most people, like we
Yeah.
never had credit cards or anything like that. So, but we do have a car payment, and so I'm like, once that's gone, I mean, we can live. We figured on like $1,200 a month or
I mean, 'cause
something, or
it's just
13
food and
with
a
insurance.
few other things.
I mean, yeah. So, but right now, yeah, we live on like $2,000 a month, and that's all of our groceries, our gas, and
So that's like the base I have to make. So
that
that's
was that was less than our house payment was before.
Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, yeah. So considerably less. So if you make above that, you got money to burn. Um, so it's pretty like, and talking to other full timers, that seems to be about where most of them are.
Most people, I would say, is between 2,000,
I mean, some we talk
2,500.
to is like way more, and some are way less.
It
but that
depends.
kind of
Yeah.
seems to be an
I mean, if
average.
you have a trailer payment and a truck payment, then it's going to be a lot more. But most
but
people,
still, like, I mean, we have some friends that owe on both, and it's not.
yeah,
It's so much less than a house.
yeah, because you're like mortgaging a trailer. It's like
Yeah,
a
right.
30-year
And it
payment,
costs a lot.
and
A
it
lot
will
less,
only
yeah.
last you about 5 years after driving it around forever.
That's right.
But yeah, and most people we've talked to, it's like 2,000 and 2,500 is like the average, and
Yeah.
so I think that's pretty good for a family of 5,
Heck
food,
yeah.
everything.
Living in, especially coming from California,
Have you
it's
guys
like.
figured out like what?
No, not yet.
No,
Yeah.
we haven't, but I mean,
We just live it up.
They just
15 grand a
whatever
month.
they want,
Minimum.
they
This isn't a
buy
vacation
it.
forever.
Right. Yeah, but I think that's part of it too. Is like, I think most people do it like you guys, we did, where you don't have to have everything figured out before you go.
Right.
Because
Yes.
and some of that you can't figure out until you actually
No,
get on the road.
and that's the thing. We had no idea. People would be like, oh. I mean, we were like, hopefully we'll save money. We don't know. 'cause
Yeah,
it
we had
was
no
like-
idea. It's
Yeah.
true. I mean, at some point you do just have to take the step and just be like, we're going to do it. You're not going to be able to figure out everything if you're that type of person. You're probably going to have to change a little bit because there's a lot of things that
Yeah,
you just gotta figure out for
There's a lot of
yourself.
unknowns.
Yeah,
stepping
totally.
out into it for sure.
Yep. So, let's talk about like jobs and stuff. So, before we ventured off into this adventure for our family, I had a full-time position, and I do video editing. So I had a video editing position, and I've always throughout my life done freelance on top of that.
Because we've never made enough.
Oh
for
yeah,
our
we've
extra.
always worked with like nonprofits and
Yeah,
organizations that never pay, especially for California.
but we used to like to spend a lot and
We used to spend
vacation.
a lot.
We used to. The only way we could ever go on vacation was him doing extra jobs.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
So I
like
did a lot of extra jobs.
yeah.
So with video editing, I was able to do the freelance stuff. So I had a point. We still had to figure out like that transition from full-time to freelance. And I had done enough freelance in the past to know that it's really difficult because it's so up and down. And some months you do great and some months you don't. But people asking for bills don't care. They still want their money at the same time. So that's the tricky part. And so that was kind of, for us, a big jump going full freelance was because I'd done it enough before to know how difficult it can be. And that was you probably know how, well, maybe you do. I was really, really nervous going up to it.
I think both of us, but I think because we both wanted it so bad that we weren't like saying it to each other.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just like, and I didn't want to make him feel bad, like,
And I didn't want to make you nervous, so I didn't.
right.
and
I
I
was
didn't
like,
want
"That's
to be like,
fine."
I
I'm like,
know,
"Oh, gosh, what
I
are we gonna
know
do?"
you're not gonna make any money.
Right.
So I think, yeah, I was so nervous. I was like, because we had done freelance, and yeah, some months are great, and then you'll go 4 months with nothing, and
Yeah.
it was like, how can we live on that? And so it was, and people ask you, well, is he gonna make enough? And it was oh yeah.
Still, people still ask. So that's the first question we get asked when we come back. How are you guys doing on money? Like, first of all, it's very personal.
People are not ashamed to say that.
No,
at
once
all.
you go on the road, they're like, all the rules drop.
Yeah,
it's like, we don't
right.
care. How much money do you make?
They're
How much
living in a
money do you have
trailer.
right now?
They don't care.
No.
So yeah, people, especially my mom's the worst.
Yeah.
So how's he doing? It's like,
We know he's doing bad. Just tell me. How much money do you need right now?
so yep, she worries all the time, but
So let me stop this real quick. All right, so it was super nerve-wracking leaving the full-time income and going into full freelance. So I'll just tell our story real short because it doesn't benefit you at all, because you're probably like, I don't do that. And then we'll talk about some other things. So I guess the main point, we don't need to go into tons of details. The main point was that it has worked so well so far. Well, maybe you'd be like, no, it hasn't. But I think, I think I was really surprised at how well it's worked and how easy it's been.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been awesome. The first month we set out, I will say, it was November.
yeah,
And we were both freaked out.
October.
It was July 17th. I don't remember. Yeah, it was October. And so because I was so worried, I booked a ton of
Too
jobs,
much.
way too much. So we set out on this lifestyle of like ease and simplicity and quiet, and it was like the
And
busiest
he was working no different.
nonstop. It was insane. So I think you do, at some point, you have to trust in whatever your plan is, and we can talk about that a little bit. I don't think I trusted myself and my abilities enough, which is okay. I think some of that was okay, but I think if I would have trusted a little bit more, I wouldn't have been so creeped out and so freaked out, because it's gone really, really well. And the other thing, well, you guys could talk. I keep talking, and then we can talk about Utah over
No,
there.
That's good for me to hear because I feel like I'm right in the middle of that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's days I'm like, this is the dumbest
Yeah.
decision I've ever made.
Exactly. I
Yes.
just ruined my family.
Doomed to fail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where's the nearest soup kitchen?
Right. Yes.
And so, just hearing that, to stick with the plan, don't
Yeah.
give up on it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't doubt
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, you have to step out in faith, thinking that this is going to be okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if we're barely scraping by, we can make other things happen. You
Yeah.
can go out and get a quick part-time job
Exactly.
Yeah.
to
Yes.
make those ends meet. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
we're stuck on the side of the road
It's
with
not
nothing.
the
Right.
first
you know?
time that I've tried to employ myself. I mean, I've had businesses in the past, and they've been fine. They've been successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times it's just making it work, just
Yeah.
making it happen,
Yeah.
just
Right.
having that.
Right.
Yep.
And I think the way society is that it's always like, well, you have to have all your ducks, in a row before you. And I think that, people are like, well, aren't you afraid you're going to fail and fail?
Yes,
And
of
it's like,
course.
failure is okay. It's
Yes.
okay to fail.
Yep.
And we were like, we'll do it for a year, and who knows if we fail at it, or we just won't do it anymore. But it's like, you're never going to know unless you try it. And it's like, if it's something that you really, really, really want to do and you've decided to do it, then do it. Don't,
Yeah.
I just think that there is so much fear in the unknown, but you just have to do it.
And I think knowing for yourself and for your spouse what is worst case scenario.
Yes.
If we go out and we don't make a penny, talking through
Yeah.
that with your spouse and knowing
Yeah.
this is what that will look like, so that you can be okay with that,
You
because
have
that
a
could.
plan B.
And we live. I mean, realistically, people tell us all the time, like, you guys are so brave to do this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we weren't at all, because we live in the USA, and
Yes.
the worst case scenario isn't that bad. Like,
Yeah,
we have fallbacks
We
that.
go back, get a job.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
friends that we could, worst case scenario, like, it's not like we're going to be poverty stricken. Well, we could be, but
Yes.
we'll be
You
better
may
off
not
than
have
in
money,
a.
But you're able to get a job. You're able to work. There is so many.
Family.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, there's something you
there's-
can fall back. Worst case scenario, there's something. So I think
Yeah.
starting there is a good place to start,
Right.
because it all comes back to a fear. It's just
Yeah.
a fear that you have. So looking that fear in the eye and figuring out, if that happened, this is what, and
Yeah.
talking through
And
that
I
with
think
your
we
spouse.
were very open with our kids too. It was
Yeah.
like, we definitely told them that it was like, we're going to try this. We don't know if we'll like it. We don't know how it's going to go. And, so they could voice their fears also in the way that they, were feeling about everything. But I think everything we did, we were very open with the kids, and, we told them that we were nervous about this and that. And I think overall it helped them too, to be able to feel like they could voice their opinion and everything.
And I think there's something to be said for, if you are looking to branch out, eventually we'll talk about ways of making money, maybe. But one of the things that was really good for me and helpful is this idea, and I forget the guy, you guys may have heard his talk on this, I forget his name, but he talks about this thing called burning your boats. And it's this idea of, like in the olden days when somebody would try to take an island, the armies would come up to I'm probably ruining his story. It's probably his butchering. But the idea is that they would take their boats up to the shore to go take the island, and they would burn their boats at the shore with this idea of like, we're not going back. We're fully committed to this. Even if we fail, we can't go back.
We can't go back to our boat.
And so there's something, I think, to be said for that. If you're going to venture out into something new and a fear of yours, especially trying to make money and you doubt yourself, if you have a boat left on the shore that's going to keep you from going and fully committing to this, you probably will. And so for us, once we fully decided to do this, I was so committed to making it work, to the point where I wouldn't have been before, that I think I overly worked and made it work.
You'll do it, It's like you have
if
to
it's
be
really there. If that desire is really there, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More so than if you're like, I haven't quit my job yet or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying go quit your job tomorrow without a plan, but at that point, once I did, it was like, okay, I'm really going to make this work.
Yeah. And I think, I've always stayed home with the kids since we've had them. And so I think supporting is a huge thing, support your spouse if they're the one out there. Cause it was very nerve wracking. And so.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I don't know. I'm just good like that.
Just good.
No, I was like in the inside, like, screaming, like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
He's going to fail me, but I'm not going to tell him.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think as women, we like security.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, our husbands are dreamers a lot of the time, and
Yes.
the women like security, and it's hard sometimes to support that, but I think it's so important that we do support our spouses and what they're,
definitely.
A dream that they may have, because it becomes a family dream.
Yes.
It becomes something that you can all get excited about, and
Right.
when that
When you're
happens.
all fighting for it.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was doing construction, we could even see just were times where you'd get worried about something, and then like the Lord would just bring a job our way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just trusting in the Lord that He's going to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll do a separate thing on. So yeah, I don't know. It's probably late. But
No, I'm saying the time for the camera. I think
it's okay right now.
Oh, okay.
7 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll do. We want to do like a little thing on what I've learned about trying to make money, on like different things that I've never known about before, that I've been forced to learn, that I think would be helpful for other people. Just like how I don't know any of this, but I think from somebody who doesn't know anything to somebody else who knows even less than me, it could be helpful, just learning like how to market online and how to get whatever you're doing out there to people would be helpful. So we don't have to do that now because it's too much, but we could talk about some ideas and things that we've heard other
But
people have
also,
done
I
to
think-
make money.
I think, every family that we've talked to has done something completely different.
Yeah.
So I think, that's why I think everybody has something that they can do on the road, because it's watching all these families that, everybody completely does something different.
Yeah.
And there's like Full-Time Families has 10,000 different families on there, and they're, all making it. So.
And a lot of them are people who didn't have, like for me, it kind of lended itself to, I could do this freelance, the video stuff on the road. A lot of families had nothing.
No.
Or they
And a lot
don't
of
think they
families-
have anything
yeah.
to offer. But I think just starting with a place of really looking at what you'd love to do, something that you've always like dreamed of, like you said, is a good place to start. And then figuring out, anyways, we can get into that later. But
so like when you guys started, when you talked about doing it, like, did you guys have a plan of like, okay, we're going to do this and this, or was it like, we're going to step out and have no idea?
we had a handful of ideas, and most of them centered around video.
Yeah.
So trying to create our own content and selling it online, most of our ideas kind of center around doing something online
Yeah.
as a way of distributing or getting work or
Yeah.
communication. But
Yeah.
All right, one more start stop, and then we're good.
You have so many different
Yeah,
trades.
he has
Skills.
a lot of talent.
Yes.
I feel
and
like you can
think-
stop on the side of the road and just build things for people for
Yeah.
money. Like,
And I think a lot of people are like that have so many different things. It may not be what their line of work is that they're doing now, but I'm like you. I mean, there are a lot of different things that you could do on the road.
Yeah.
yeah, construction is hard to do on the road. Like, you can't just get a general contractor's license. But
Right.
There's handyman stuff you can
Yes.
do,
Sure.
and yeah, there's always something.
I think starting, I'm turning on a light, but looking at one thing that you do that could bring value to anybody else is a good place to start. Just looking at
Right.
anything that you do that people have asked you about as
Yeah. That people.
that they see you
pay
skilled
you
at.
to
What am
do.
I doing wrong? How do you work a phone?
Yeah. You're on.
Jeez.
That's the side.
That's the one. Okay. Now we're getting fancy. So, literally a sock on a microphone and iPhone lighting and like this is quality stuff you're paying for here.
Is that the key light? This is the fill.
Hey, yeah, they're both working as a iPhone light. You want to talk about some of the things that we've heard of other families doing to make money?
on the road.
Yeah, just to give some ideas.
Tons of families do essential oils. They sell.
Yeah, talk about that
I
a
mean,
little bit.
Interesting.
I'm not sure what the
It's
brand
network
is.
marketing.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of families that usually the families that I've talked to have all sold the same oils, and I'm not sure exactly what the name is.
Is it doTERRA?
And maybe
Yeah,
it is.
it is
There
doTERRA.
you go. See, she knows more about it than I
You
do.
want some? You want some to sell it? Hey,
But
doTERRA.
most
Maybe
of
I'll
families have said that with 2 years selling them that they were full income to be able to, not have to. They both had quit their other jobs and that they could live fully
Yeah.
on that. A lot of people do ministry. Just like
Yeah.
church ministry, going from church to church, doing that kind of thing.
And try to get support from other
Yeah.
people.
A lot of people work in campgrounds. They become campground host and handyman.
Because again, you have to remember, like you can live so affordably. You don't have to be trying to make the same.
Especially
I'm
as
just
a
rapping.
campground host, because it's like everything is free and then you get income on top of it. So,
We know one lady who does voiceover work now.
yeah,
Had
a
never
lot
even
of families
thought
do
about it before.
voiceover.
So here's a couple ideas. There are tons of ways of making money online without much skills. Like we know people who make money, full-time income on Craigslist and eBay. It's not, none of these things are easy.
Yeah,
It's all things you have to
all of
work
it
on.
takes work, yeah, and it's not like it's going to happen overnight. I
No.
mean, these are people that planned and within a couple years knew that they could do it.
Some sooner, some not, but
Yeah.
it's things that you can start on the side. Start trying to build on the side while you transition out of your full-time job. Some people I know have a full-time job and they actually have the ability to work
Yeah.
from home,
Power
but it's
linemen
something.
and-
Well, yeah, and even
Yeah,
I think some office work. Sometimes your office is a lot more open to you working from home than
Yeah.
you even realize, and
I
people
know,
don't
like
even ask.
Sprint and Verizon, a lot of them do, and Amazon. People work for
Yeah.
Amazon, and they're able just to travel.
Yep. And there's of course, obviously, the thing I'm trying to get into more and more is selling products online that bring value to other people, and trying to build audiences and things, which is a way a lot of people do it. And again, it takes work and figuring stuff out, but it's worked pretty well for us so far, surprisingly. So, what else? You guys know of any other things?
What have you guys?
No, we're
heard?
taking notes right now.
Yeah, we're mentally taking notes here.
Yeah.
That's funny. I know a lot of people make. We have friends that they make their own toothpaste and stuff, and
yeah.
they sell it at flea markets.
Yeah. Oh, we know a lot. Well, this is a skill set again, but
People
lots
make
of photographers.
Yeah, tons of photographers, jewelry people make and sell at flea markets.
The biggest thing I would say, if you're going to sell something online, if you're going to sell a product or a service or something online, the best thing you can do right now is start building. I'm getting into stuff. I'll do this later. We'll save that for
But yes,
next
I
time.
think that there's lots of people. I mean, people sell stuff on Etsy. People. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
there's
tons of
just
stuff on
all kinds of things.
There are tons. If you start searching online for services, and a lot of teachers, not even teachers, but people who are skilled in a specific area. There's so many sites out there online right now where you can sell courses. You don't have to do anything. You just create a course online and sell it online. Some people are really good at that. It's successful at it. There's so many services online that you can just get into. I mean, even Uber drivers, you know, you can, I mean, as we always thought, like, we could do Uber if we really get into,
Yeah, if worse comes to worse, we were like,
we're just really, I mean,
I did think that too, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, but we live in a world today, luckily for us, where this kind of lifestyle is more accessible than it's ever been, because you just don't even realize how many opportunities there are for you to make money, even online, that you may not even think. You may know nothing about the internet or think you have anything of value to add, but when you start thinking about it and realizing even how many services, like Airbnb, if you have a place you can rent.
If you keep your house, you can rent. There's a family that I saw that they have an RV and they tow a greenhouse and they sell fruits and vegetables. I mean, it's like
you can get super creative.
Yes.
And again, because the expenses can be so minimal, you can get creative in things that you thought that would never support us. They may actually support you. And a lot of people start out this lifestyle by selling everything. And you make some money on, even if you're not selling a house, just the stuff that you have, you can make enough money to get you going.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say, if you can be as close to debt-free as possible,
Oh, yeah, that's
that would be the best, because then you're not putting all that money that you just sold things towards your
Yeah,
debt,
that's
and credit cards or whatever, you know. So if you can be as close to debt-free, you know, maybe if you have a mortgage or you have a small credit card, you know, that you can pay off quickly. You know, it's going to make all of these things more feasible.
Yes, it's so much more stress-free when you're able to do that.
Yeah, because that is the component, getting your cost of living as low as possible, which may mean cutting debt, and then you don't need as much income.
Right. Yeah.
For sure.
And I guess for us, you know, like we didn't have a lot of debt. We had our mortgage, but we were only living paycheck to paycheck. We didn't have savings. We didn't have anything set aside in order to do this. We just sold everything, and the amount of money that we had left over, you know, we bought everything outright to where we don't have the debt, and then we set aside a small amount to where we can get going on it, and then hopefully, you know, he'll be able to.
Well, that's it. I mean, that makes you guys in a great place, and people who start that way, because it gives you a little more freedom and time to be able to. Because we know a lot of full-time families, not a lot, but a few, who have done the same thing, and when they get to the point of where the money's going to run out, that's when they're like, hey, we should figure out a way to make money outside of this. But if you can start that early on,
before, and then you have so much more time ahead of the game.
But it usually is that last little bit where we know families that they figure it out right at the end. They're literally out of money and they figure something out.
But they figure it out, and they've been able to keep doing it. And so I think that we limit ourselves so much on you know.
I would say, this is one thing I'll say, one of the best pieces of advice I got from somebody when we first started, and this was probably a year before we were going to go, is he said, I told him my idea for trying to make money, and he said, just do that as if your family's, he wasn't this dramatic, but your family's like survival dependent on it tomorrow. Like, work on this thing as hard as you possibly can, as if you are out of money, as if you've got to make money for the next bill that's coming up. Like, do that every day for a while, and I think that's what helped us get to a place to where it actually worked.
Yeah, I think I saw you working so hard that I was like, okay, it's got to work. Yeah, hopefully.
That's it. That was pretty good. That was darn good. Do you guys have anything else?
He's taking lots of notes over here.